Fieldwork to understand basic ecological concepts. In any fieldwork related to ecology, ecological surveys are very important, and for this we need sampling, because if we want to know what kind of plants and animals are in a particular habitat and how many there are of each species, it is usually impossible to go and count each and every one present. It would be like trying to count different sizes and colors of grains of sand on the beach. This problem is circumvented by taking a number of samples from around the habitat, making the necessary assumption that these samples are representative of the habitat in general. In order to be reasonably sure that the results from the samples do represent the habitat as closely as possible, careful planning beforehand is essential. Samples are usually taken using a standard sampling unit of some kind. This ensures that all of the samples represent the same area or volume, that is, if it is a water, of the habitat each time. What do we do to take a sample? The usual sampling unit is a quadrate. Quadrate, as the name suggests, normally consists of a square frame, the most frequently used size being 1 square meter. Purpose of using a quadrate is to enable comparable samples to be obtained from the area of consistent size and shape. Rectangular quadrates and even circular quadrates have been used in some surveys. It does not really matter what shape of the quadrate is used, provided it is a standard sampling unit and its shape and measurements are stated in any write-up. It may, however, be better to stick to the traditional square frame unless there are very good reasons not to, because this yields data that is more readily comparable to other published research. For instance, you cannot compare data obtained using a circular quadrate with data obtained using a square quadrate. The difference in shape of the sampling units will introduce variations in the results obtained. Choice of quadrate size depends to a large extent on the type of the survey being conducted. For instance, it would be difficult to gain any meaningful result using a 0.5 square meter quadrate in a study of a woodland canopy. Small quadrates are much quicker to survey, but are likely to yield somewhat less reliable data than large ones. However, larger quadrates require more time and effort to examine properly. A balance is therefore necessary between what is deal and what is practical. As a general guideline, 0.5 to 1 square meter quadrate would be suggested for short grassland or dwarf heath. Taller grasslands and shrubby habitats might require 2 meter quadrates, while quadrates of 20 square meter or larger would be needed for woodland habitats. At the other end of the scale, if you are sampling moss on the bank covered with a very diverse range of moss species, you might choose to use 0.25 square meter quadrate. The estimation can be improved by dividing the quadrate into a grid of 100 squares, each representing 1% cover. This can either be done mentally by imagining 10 longitudinal and 10 horizontal lines of equal size superimposed on the quadrant, or physically by actually dividing the quadrate by means of string or wire attached to the frame at standard intervals. This is only practical if the vegetation in the area to be sampled is very short. Otherwise, the string or the wire will impede the laying down of the quadrate over the vegetation. To record percentage cover of species in a quadrate, look down on the quadrate from above and estimate the percentage cover occupied by each species. Species often overlap and there may be several different vertical layers. Percentage cover may therefore add up to well over 100% for any individual quadrate. Quadrates are most often used for sampling, but are not the only type of sampling units. It depends what you are sampling. If you are sampling aquatic microorganisms or studying water chemistry, then you will most likely collect water samples in standard sized bottles or containers. If you are looking at parasites on fish, then an individual fish will most likely be your sampling unit. Similarly, studies of leaf miners would probably involve collecting individual leaves as sampling units. In these last two cases, the sampling units will not be of standard size. This problem can be overcome by using a weighted mean, which takes into account different sizes of sampling unit to arrive at the mean number of organisms per sampling unit. There are three main ways of taking samples. Number 1, random sampling. Number 2, systematic sampling, which includes line transect and the belt transect methods. And the third one is stratified sampling. Random sampling. Random sampling is usually carried out when the area under the study is fairly uniform, very large, or there is limited time available. When using random sampling techniques, large numbers of samples or records are taken from different positions within the habitat. A quadrate frame is most often used for this type of sampling. The frame is placed on the ground or on whatever is being investigated, and the animals and or plants inside it are counted, measured or collected depending on what the survey is for. This is done many times at different points within the habitat to give a large number of different samples. In the simplest form of random sampling, the quadrate is thrown to fall at random within the site. However, this is usually unsatisfactory because a personal element inevitably enters into the throwing and it is not truly random. True randomness is an important element in ecology because statistics are widely used to process the results of sampling. Many of the common statistical techniques used are only valid on data that is truly randomly collected. This technique is also only possible if quadrates of small size are being used. It would be impossible to throw anything larger than a 1 square meter quadrate, and even this might pose problems. Within habitats such as woodlands or scrub areas, it is also often not possible to physically lay quadrate frames down because tree trunks and shrubs get in the way. In this case, an area the same size as the quadrate has to be measured out instead, and the corners marked to indicate the quadrate area to be sampled. A better method of random sampling is to map the area and then lay a numbered grid over the map. A computer generated random number table is then used to select which squares to sample in. If we look at the top of the first column in the random number table, our first number is 20. Moving downwards, the next two numbers in the random number table would be 74 and 94, but our highest numbered square on the grid is only 29. We would therefore ignore 74 and 94 and move on to the next number, which is 22. We would then sample in the square 22. Counting down the figures in this column, we would soon come across the number 20 again. As we have already selected this grid for the sampling, we would similarly ignore this number and continue on to the next. We would continue in this fashion until we had obtained enough samples to be representative of the habitat. There are other methods of selecting numbers from a random number table, but this is the simplest. In some habitats, it may be difficult to set up numbered grids. Example, in woodland, and in these a random walk may be used. In this method, each sample point is located by taking a random number between 0 and 360 to give a compass bearing followed by another random number which indicates the number of paces which should be taken in that direction. Now we talk of systematic sampling. Many ecological surveys are carried out over extended periods of time, with sampling taking place at regular intervals within a particular habitat. In such cases, it is necessary to estimate the number of samples which should be taken at each sampling period. The minimum number of samples which should be taken to be truly representative of a particular habitat can be ascertained by graphing the number of species recorded as a function of the number of samples examined. Now we talk about line transect and belt transect methods. Let us discuss the line transect method. Systematic sampling is when samples are taken at fixed intervals, usually along a line. This normally involves doing transects, where a sampling line is set up across the area where there are clear environmental gradients. For example, you might use a transect to show the changes of plant species as you moved from grassland to woodland, or to investigate the effect on species composition of a pollutant radiating out from a particular source. A transect line can be made using a nylon rope marked and numbered at 0.5 meter or 1 meter intervals all the way along its length. This is laid across the area you wish to study. The position of the transect line is very important, and it depends on the direction of the environmental gradient you wish to study. It should be thought about carefully before it is placed. You might otherwise end up without clear results because the line has been wrongly placed. For example, if the source of pollutant was wrongly identified in the example given above, it is likely that the transect line would be laid in the wrong area and the result would be very confusing. Time is usually money, so it is worthwhile thinking about it before starting. A line transect is carried out by unrolling the transect line along the gradient identified. The species touching the line may be recorded along the whole length of the line, that is continuous sampling. Alternatively, the presence or absence of a species at each marked point is recorded, that is systematic sampling. If the slope along the transect line is measured as well, the results can be inserted into this profile. The second method is belt transect method. This is similar to the line transect method, but gives information on abundance as well as presence or absence of species. It may be considered as a widening of the line transect to form a continuous belt or series of quadrates. In this method, the line transect is laid out across the area to be surveyed, and a quadrate is placed on the first marked point on the line. Plants and or animals inside the quadrate are then identified and their abundance estimated. Animals can be counted if they will sit still or collected, while it is usual to estimate the percentage cover of the plant species. Cover is the area of the quadrate occupied by the above ground parts of a species when viewed from above. The canopies of the plant inside the quadrate will often overlap each other, so the total percentage cover of plants in a single quadrate will frequently add up to more than 100%. Quadrates are sampled all the way down the transect line at each marked point on the line, or at some other predetermined interval, or even randomly if time is short. It is important that the same person should do the estimations of cover in each quadrate, because the estimation is likely to vary from person to person. If different people estimate percentage cover in different quadrates, then an element of personal variation is introduced, which will lead to less accurate results. The height of plants in quadrate can be recorded, and the biomass of the plants can also be measured by harvesting all the plants inside the quadrate and then weighing either fresh or dry weight in the laboratory. This is obviously a very destructive method of sampling, which could not be used too often in the same place. Sampling should always be as least destructive as possible, and you should try not to trample an area too much when carrying out your survey. Now we talk about the stratified sampling method. Stratified sampling is used to take into account different areas or strata which are identified within the main body of a habitat. These strata are sampled separately from the main part of the habitat. The name stratified sampling comes from the term strata, plural, or stratum, that is singular. For ease of understanding, the term unit will be used in the following explanation rather than a stratum. Individual habitats are rarely uniform throughout the extent. There are often smaller identifiable areas within a habitat which are substantially different from the main part of the habitat. For example, scrub patches within a heathland area or areas of bracken in a grassland. One of the problems with random sampling is that random samples may not cover all the areas of a habitat equally. To continue with the example of bracken patches in a grassland, if the area was random sampled, it is possible that none of the samples might fall within the bracken patches. The results would then not show any bracken in the habitat. Clearly, this would not be an accurate reflection of the habitat. In this sort of situation, stratified random sampling would be used to avoid missing out on important areas of the habitat. This simply means identifying the bracken as a different unit within the habitat and then sampling it separately from the main parts of the habitat. While the bracken area clearly needs to be taken into account, it is nevertheless important to avoid overemphasizing its significance within the habitat as a whole. Its importance is kept in the context by locating a proportional number of samples directly within the bracken unit. The proportion of samples taken within the unit is determined by the area of the unit in relation to the overall area of the habitat. For example, say grassland area is 400 square meters overall, with the bracken patch occupying 100 square meters of this total area. The bracken therefore accounts for 25% of the total grassland area. Say it has been decided that a total of 24 samples need to be taken in order to accurately reflect the composition of the whole habitat, then 6 of those samples, that is 1/4 or 25%, would be located within the bracken unit and 18, that is 3/4 or 75%, in the general grassland area. There is a standard formula for calculating the number of samples to be placed in each unit. This is number of quadrate sampled in the unit is equal to the area of the quadrate multiplied by total number of quadrates to be sampled divided by total area of the habitat. In our example, 6 is equal to 100 multiplied by 24 divided by 400. Now, let us summarize at the end. A quadrate is a small plot used in ecology and geography to isolate a standard unit of area for study of the distribution of an item over a large area. While originally square, modern quadrates can be rectangular, circular, irregular, etc. The quadrate is suitable for sampling plants, slow moving animals and some aquatic organisms. When an ecologist wants to know how many organisms there are in a particular habitat, it would not be feasible to count them all. Instead, he or she would be forced to count a smaller representative part of the population called a sample. Sampling of plants or animals that do not move much, such as snails, can be done using a sampling square called a quadrate. A suitable size of the quadrate depends on the size of the organism being sampled. For example, to count plants growing on a school field, one could use a quadrate with sides 0.5 or 1 meter in length. It is important that sampling in an area is carried out at random to avoid bias. Long-term studies may require that the same quadrates be revisited months or even years after initial sampling.